Well, okie dokie. We're going to get this started. It's 2:05 and we run this ship until about 3 p.m. If you don't know why you're on this meeting, I hope you do. We are the people, by the people, for all the people. We're families across Florida with loved ones with developmental disabilities, and we have gathered this year to make positive impacts to our legislators so that this 2024 session will have the developmentally disabled community a priority. And we meet every Friday. We switch the times between 2 and 6. So this week is 2 p.m. Next Friday will be 6 p.m., then 2 p.m., then 6 p.m., all the way through the end of legislative session. And this has been a busy week for us. The We the People group has really started to make a pretty big impact. And I would like to, let's start. I just saw Allison pop in here. Allison, are you ready to give a report now? You literally just logged in.
Uh, yes.
Yay! All right, so Allison, why don't you just like kind of introduce yourself for anybody who doesn't know who you are, and what you've been up to with legislators.
Okay. I'm Allison, and my son JJ Holmes is 19. He'll be 20 in February, and also in February that will be 17 years that he's been on the wait list for the med waiver. And so and then we're on managed care through Children's Medical Services right now and get basically nothing, except a 26-second phone call every month. We do get that. I mustn't forget that. So this week, and they're all blurring into one. So this week we went to Seminole County delegation on Monday, which is a friend, Jason Brodeur, and Rachel Plakin, who Jason and Rachel we have to thank for no longer being on a wait list. We are now in pre-enrollment, which APD has updated their website. That was their bill. And then Wednesday was Hardy with Senator Albritton and Kaylee Tuck, who I believe is the new chair of Kathleen Passidomo's Live Healthy, whatever it's, her
Live Healthy initiative. Yeah,
that's it.
mm-hmm.
So we spoke there, and Melissa was there as well, and it was a very small meeting, and 3 to 5 minutes we got, which was, couldn't even fill up the time, which is unusual for me. And then Thursday was Duval. Every time I say that, I hear that stupid Duval or whatever they say in my head. And I had the huge pleasure of meeting Amanda Hayes there. So I had seen her very, very moving testimony in, help me out here, Stephanie, is it Putnam?
Putnam. Yeah.
Which, if you haven't seen it, you need to go and watch it, because it's incredible, and said that would, I would have fallen apart to go up there. I know how hard it is to speak in public, for number one. Just before I went up to speak the first time, my friend, I call her my friend, I'm not so sure, said to me, they say there's only one thing worse than speaking in public, and that's a death in the family. And I'm like, oh, great. So it's hard. And then when you're talking about your kids, and when you're putting your personal life on public display,
Right.
so all those things are hard. But so yeah, we got to meet, and then I got to vent a little, because that was Duggan in that meeting, who was the House sponsor of our managed care pilot program. And because the bill started off as, I think it was a 1-page, maybe 2-page bill, and it was going to be for 1 year. They were going to do a quick 1 year for everybody and then throw them all on managed care. So, and we tried to meet with him all last session, and he wouldn't even answer an email, nothing. His staff wouldn't meet. So I did get to say that there. And then he seems to feel managed care is great, and we just have a difference of opinion. So
I heard that. So go on there, Allison. Gosh, you've done a whole lot this week. And I think every family here is just so grateful that you and JJ have taken an enormous amount of time and energy to go meet with legislators. I think I heard you say you hit 3 or 4 this week. We've been following you, and I did put a link to our YouTube page, which has these meetings. So just so you know, we record these meetings so that people who can't be here can participate in the times that they can. And I've also been putting everyone's delegation addresses to legislators on there so that we can take notes of what is going on around the state. I personally was like, wow, this is incredible. This seminal reception, thought that was like really, really great. And then yesterday's Deval, I think you're the first family I've actually seen that has had I don't know, had almost like rebuttal from our legislators. And I was hoping maybe you could shed some light on what that was like, because I thought you handled that with grace and class, and yet still stood your truth, stood your ground, which is a delicate balance. Like I'm redhead. I don't know. But I thought you did such a great job of speaking truth without being disrespectful. So how'd you do that?
well, thank you for saying that. I don't know that I necessarily did. And afterwards you think, oh, we should have said this, or we should have said that. But at the time, you don't. I mean, it's very infrequent that they say come back or say anything, unless it's just, thank you for coming, and it's very nice to see you. So and then it was standing there thinking, okay, do I say, yeah, you can get them on the wait list, there's not all this red tape that you think there is, or do I say managed care? So that's what I picked, and I knew I'd get shut down. So it was just trying to get as much as I could out before. But so now I've got in touch with somebody who knows somebody who is going to be able to explain a bit more, because we're now signed up for Miami, and anybody who can get there, please go, because this is Danny Perez. This is who is pushing this managed care bill.
Well, this is also our incoming House Speaker, so he's chief on the House side next year. I think that is a good delegation for us if we can. Do you know the date of that?
I do. It's November 28th.
November 28th.
And so sorry, the dogs are barking. So I want to know exactly what it is, because this sort of thought that you have to wait for a crisis is not something that I believe is accurate at all. But he said something about all the regulations, and so anyway, I'm going to get all that figured out, and then it's 2 minutes that everybody has in Miami. And as I say, if you do anything this year, that would be the one. If you can get to it, it's a 4-hour drive for us. We will do it, because it's that important to us that they fund this waiver and don't switch us to managed care. I mean, it's I said there, I mean, we have literally an email from the care coordinator saying about, to ask a church if they have miscellaneous funds for, disability service, that according to certainly Jason Brodeur, Gail Harrell, and others, this is what managed care for on CMS is supposed to be providing. So there's some huge breakdown somewhere, but meanwhile they're sitting there patting themselves on the back saying that everybody's taken care of, and they're not. So managed care would just be, I mean, we can't find, we get the 4 hours a week, which is nothing. Originally they weren't anything because they said if there was a parent at home, then is likely to be refused. Well, the only people who are his caregivers are his parents, of course, because we don't have any outside help. So it's they've kind of got you in there where they're not going to give you help. And then because of going up to Tallahassee and making a noise, then we've got 4 hours a week, but they can't find anybody because they don't want to take him out in his wheelchair. We want him to go to therapy. That would be a huge help if at least we could get that 4 hours. He could get to OT and PT, but they don't want to do it. And I mean, I understand why, but at least if we could hire somebody ourselves through the waiver. And this is the same problem that's going to happen on managed care. It's just it's the way the control that everybody has. And
I think for, my perspective on that, like when I was watching, is the lack of education our legislators have on what we really go through. Because I do believe that whoever is letting them know about, managed care, the wait list, how to solve the problem, they're getting their information from people who don't live it. And
right.
What's really beautiful was how you were able to go in there and say, let me tell you from my perspective and my experience with managed care. And having that tough conversation is really difficult, especially when you're talking about you're doing this in public forum. And I much rather prefer to talk in office meetings one-to-one as well. But when you're getting into delegation and you've got a representative who hasn't gotten back to you, that's a difficult position. I'm just, and JJ too, man. Oh my gosh, he did
Who was
so good.
Who was
Speaking his truth.
Who was the legislator that didn't get back and then liked managed care?
The one
Representative Duggan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Allison and JJ too. If he is around, please, you guys are like really, really taking the lead on making sure that our voices are heard and that legislators, whether they think they know or they actually admit that they need some education, you're doing it anyway. And I feel like you guys are doing it so well, like so well. I had a meeting with Senator Passidomo, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday, and half of it was talking about how JJ should be governor. Like you have actually really reached through to the leadership in our state just by being consistent, constant, same story, same message, and everything you've said is true. It is what you're going through. And I know Amanda is on this call, and we younger moms, like, we look up to you. You have inspired us to get more engaged, and you may not realize it or not, but you and JJ, you're celebrities in our community because you have just really carried the torch. So has anybody else gone to delegation meetings? Thank you, Allison. Anybody else spoken with legislators, have a report to give, want to share? This is the time. Kim, you raised your hand. We just talk in this group. So, hey, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. This is my first time being in the meeting, in your little Zoom meeting, and I'm a supported living coach. And we did go to a delegation meeting, and a fellow supported living coach, she did speak, and our main issue is just our rate, our reimbursement rate. So
Yeah,
that's
from what I
basically,
hear, you guys have only had a decrease
we've
since
only had
you
a
started,
decrease since
right?
2003. We make, currently 8.4% less than we did 20 years ago. And
What's
it's
a supported living coach?
well, it's for people that want to live independently in the community. We've helped them find their housing. We do everything for them. We do the housing, we pay the bills, we take them shopping. We're like a, think of it as a family home or a group home that doesn't have any supports except the supported living coach, and they live in their own apartment in their own community. So it's really wonderful, but it's a very difficult service. Especially as our population ages, everybody's getting old together. You go to a medical appointment and it's not just a quick medical, it's oh, we need to send you to a specialist. They're decreasing our hours. Everything's more expensive, insurance, transportation. We transport in our own vehicles because our people can't afford transportation, the tickets. Um, so it's a really tough service, and we're on call 24/7. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are on call and we're not reimbursed for it.
How
So it's
did it go at the delegation meetings? Like, I'm assuming that's kind of what you shared.
um yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about. Gail Harrell is so I'm in Palm Beach County, so she's kind of a big person, and I met a couple times with her. And a couple of the guys were on their phones, they weren't even paying attention. So it's you just feel like no one cares.
Have
Oh,
any of them gotten back with you on like
no.
actual in-office appointments?
No,
Mhm.
no, but I went with another supported living coach. She's not on the meeting right now, but we do have a meeting at 3:30, or actually 4:30 today, with Bobby Powell. So I don't know how that's going to go. He's in her district, so she set up the appointment. So I'm going to go with her.
That's incredible. I think I would guess that there needs to be a lot of education on what your role is, because
Yeah.
if I die, you guys are it. And 24/7 care, no
Well,
raise
it's
since
not
2003.
24/7.
That's
It's we're on call 24/7. Our individuals are higher functioning, but
mhm.
I can see in the people in the group that one of my moms is on here, Karen Baker. She went to the delegation meeting with me and she actually spoke. I've been her daughter's coach for, I think, out of high school for 25 years. But she provides a lot of support, but when she's gone, it's who knows what's coming down the pipe, because I'm a dinosaur. I've been doing this for 35 years. And at the rate, who are they going to get to replace us? Who's going to do it? Who's going to do
Mm.
what we do 24 hours a day? Disaster. We have to do disaster evacuations. Now I'm lucky, like with Karen, because she's very supportive, but most of my people don't have families like that. But my concern is I'm trying to retire, but who's taking our place? What providers are going to be taking our place at the rates that we are reimbursed?
Do you have a solution that you've like have ready for Rep Powell on how to help
We
fix
need
this?
a, we need to, we need our provider rate to be increased. Like I said, we had a rate that was established in 2003. It was established based on the Mercer study, which took in that beautiful, lovely thing they don't want to hear about, the Mercer study, which took into consideration transportation, documentation, all of that stuff. And that was our rate in 2003. Then we got like a 2% cost of living like a couple of years later. And then it was absolutely slashed by 11%. So that's where the net 8.4% loss is. So today I make 8.4% less than I did 20 years ago. And it's pathetic. Hold on one second. Let me grab something. I'll show you.
Well, I'm so glad she's gone, but so for the mom that went with her, thank you so
No,
much.
I'm back. I'm back.
Thanks.
No, I mean,
Mom.
this is just what I'm dealing with. This is my homeowner's insurance. $3,000. My renewal is $4,600. It's like we can't even keep up. I mean, I don't need to tell people what the cost of living is. So, I'm not a family dealing with my loved one individual, but I'm like on the other side of the struggle, trying to continue to be a provider.
I think that's important that we all speak, because when you guys can't provide, then we don't get our needs met, and it goes round and round. And by painting the whole picture and getting as many providers to join you and reach out to those that can help, that's the whole
Well,
spiel here.
I just think, I'm also the trainer, and I'm going to be training a new provider down in Broward County. And it's hard for me to not tell her what's going on. I don't want to scare her away from coming on the waiver. And, she wants to leave education and become a supported living coach. But it's really hard. I got to kind of,
It's like jumping from the fire into the frying pan, or the other way around.
yeah,
It's like,
I
which
want to be
way?
honest with her. All I said was, we're really working hard to get the rates up. And she would be coming in at the independent rate, which is like $24 an hour. And when you factor in the 24/7 on-call services, we're not compensated for that. And I can go on and on about that. I mean, they're cutting our budgets, our hours. I have one man, he had 25 hours forever. Now he has 18. So that's a cut. So I just feel like they're starving us. And I'm not okay. So, and I've written letters to Taylor Hatch. I have a beautiful informational packet that I put together with the FARF paper that talks about the budget history over the years. I have a quick read. I've contacted a bunch of senators and representatives. APD is ghosting me. Like I have made like 4 calls to Hatch's office. I've called Denise Goodman. I don't know what her name is. I have notes.
Godwin.
Everybody I've called. Yeah.
Godwin, it's her
Nobody
assistant.
called me back. I've called the chief of staff. I've called the legislative affairs department. I'm working with my regional director, Rita Castor, who I have a long-term relationship with for 30 something years. She keeps telling me, Kim, they will call you back, Kim. And I'm like, they're ghosting me. They refuse to even call me back to discuss my concerns of I want them to look me in the face and say that it's okay, that they're okay that a provider makes 8.4% less than she did 20 years ago. Who can survive on that? And I don't want to hijack this meeting.
They're not looking to help you guys survive. They're not looking to help this survive. The whole thing is, the starving of the waiver program, and the managed care coming in the back door. And as everybody that is either served by this waiver or serves within it as a provider, we should all have a big problem with the fact that, and it is written into the legislation, it is written right into Senate Bill 2510. It starts on page 13 at the bottom, the achieved savings rebate. The fact that they get to keep 7.5% of the money that is going to be allocated to them, when no waiver provider has ever received anything like that at all whatsoever, is completely unfair and unjust. We've been, the way that the system is set up now is it's a reimbursement. That's how we get paid. We get reimbursed after we provide a service for a month. We can bill at that point. Sometimes you can't. With this, they actually are going to get money every single month up front for everybody that they serve. And then they get to keep this particular percentage off the top of it that nobody's ever been able to keep. I'm sorry?
Oh, I said I don't spend it. That's such a conflict of interest.
That's how all of the managed care plans are set up, you guys. I didn't know about it until it actually started to affect me personally, when I saw that it was not just in the legislation, even before it was in the joke of the 1.5 page bill. One of the main lobbyists had told me, it just said like, well, the achieved savings rebate is only 7.5%. And I didn't want to, at that time, I didn't really understand what that meant. now I completely understand what that means. And that is not okay. And I actually spoke with that lobbyist again earlier this week, which brings me into a couple of things, because I am going to have to jump off of here, but I did want to just say a couple of things to you guys and ask a couple of questions. One, I was talking to somebody else who is a lobbyist in Tallahassee, and the stress that was put to me as far as the amount of people that need to really kind of get out there, like what Allison was saying before, that Miami delegation, if there can be a group of people that are there, it just shows that there's, like, I went to Hardy and it was me and Allison and JJ. I don't serve in Hardy. I don't have any clients there, so it's not like I have people to pull from, but I am going to go to the Charlotte delegation, which is on the 20th, I believe, because Albritton's going to be there again. I am going to try to get some people. I cannot go to Miami on the 28th. My kids fly in that day and I haven't seen them for a while, and I got to pick them up at the airport, so I cannot go to Miami that day. But the Charlotte delegation I'll be at, and I really feel that each time that I'm presenting, that I'm up there, I want to have at least a couple of my folks with me so that they can see who I'm talking about. When I was in Sarasota, one of my, well, I'm not the support coordinator for him, but he's been with my agency for a long time, like got up and walked up and came and stood next to me at the podium,
Stole
completely
the
just like
show.
on his
Tim
own. And I was
was
just like,
incredible. Yes.
I was just like, oh my God. I was like, this is this. And then, you know, like I went to go put my arm around him. My rotator cuff is torn. So I really can't, but we were holding hands on the podium the whole time. And I've known him and his family for over 20 years. And I was like, okay, this is the reason why I'm going to continue to really go hard at this year, is because not because it's just Tim, but everybody else that I love and care about. And somebody else had just said something before about that the legislators really do not understand, and they don't. And even though I'm not caring for somebody at home with a developmental disability, I've been going in and out of enough homes for long enough to know that the struggle is real, and that the provider side of it, having those really solid in the game, like for life providers, just like Kim has been providing for 35 years. That's what our folks need. And people that are in this program are not just reliant on the waiver. You have to tap into other resources in the community. So it's not just that. There's also an email that Alan Abramowitz had sent out, and I just pulled it up here, on November 2nd at 9:11 in the morning, about the issue going on with vocational rehabilitation. We should all be a bit concerned about that. A lot of money is they're not paying the providers. A lot of money is going unspent. And also there was a ton of money that was reverted back this year from APD. Those things, that money could have gone into like provider development and training, and like just to beef up and really get that robust provider network in place. Also could have gone to rate increases, but they're starving this program, and they're going to prop up this managed care, and the fact that they get to keep that percentage is ridiculous. And then the other thing, and this, I really want to ask you guys this, and this is really more so for the families. They're really pushing this, the Agency for Unique Abilities. And oddly enough, I'm in APD right now up in Tampa. I'm waiting to go into a meeting, but they're pushing this Agency for Unique Abilities. I have already heard from a number of people that they are not okay with that, because it's almost like there's something like wrong or shameful with saying disabilities. And we all have unique abilities, but Stephanie made an excellent point with this. And it's like, but the reason why our guys need services and help is because they have disabilities. And for some reason, the people that don't have any, real relatives or any skin in the game with people that they love and care about have a problem with saying disabilities. It's like they want to like gloss it over and unique abilities. And it's the family's feedback that I've received so far, and from a couple of people on this call, has not been positive with that. They're like, no, we don't want unique abilities. It's what it is, a developmental disability. Is there anybody else on here that does like the unique abilities?
Well, I can tell you where it came from. Is from
Yes, that would
Senator
be helpful.
Senate President Gardner started the Unique Abilities Program, that they have a bill to put more money into the scholarships this week, which, you know, I think that's a good victory for parents that really need that scholarship, that they're going to get more money in it. And they warned about that, because what they did is they took all the voucher programs and put them all in one giant pot. And they only have, they had some kind of complicated formula about how people with children with disabilities could access that money, but they're going to get rid of the formula and put more money into it during special session. But the Unique Abilities thing happened because Senate President Gardner liked that term. And also, when you hear Unique Abilities Program, there's that post-secondary program through colleges in Florida that are specially designed for people to have a college experience and some, hopefully, some good vocational training through that program.
So where I first heard the Agency for Persons with Unique Abilities was on October 19th. You can look it up on the Florida channel. The First Lady and Director Hatch announced the HOPE navigation program. And the First Lady and the Director repeatedly kept referring to the APD as the Agency for Persons with Unique Abilities. There's been
that's
a
why I
couple,
changed the name. Okay.
right? So you know, that subliminal messaging thing that happens, we say it a couple times and see where it sticks. And we did go in the Facebook group. I would like to hear if there's any families who are like, yes, I've been dying for it to be changed to Unique Abilities. Like, please, let's talk about that. I personally think that if we lose that word disability, then it doesn't exist. And if we stop calling the wait list and it's a pre-enrollment list, it just whitewashes over the truth. And the purpose of this agency is to support those with developmental disabilities. I get phone calls. Yeah, whoever that is, come on.
It's me, Alison. I'm just sorry. I hate Zoom because I always interrupt. I didn't mean to. To me, there can be somebody lying there. They said one person was on the wait list and she can only blink her eyes. Is that a unique ability? No, it's a disability. And it sounds patronizing and it's dismissive of what the issue is, because it sounds, you know, like very kumbaya that they're helping people with unique abilities get services, but once you say no, they're actually pretty severely disabled in various ways, unique ways, if you want to call it that. But no, it's a disability, and it is even more so in Florida because of the lack of funding. It's a disability. Put some money into it, and then we'll call it unique abilities, because then they will have, you know, the same, as I said, Jackson, but the same quality of, not Jackson, Jamal, or whatever, the same quality of life and the dignity as every other Floridian. Sorry for jumping in. Sorry.
No,
okay.
No, it's all good. That's what we're here to do. That's what this meeting's about. This, you know, I don't know about the rest of you who've had other friends ask you about the APD and they have a different disability, maybe a physical disability or a mental impairment, and they want to know if they can access service. I get it all the time, and it's confusing. So the title of the agency should reflect the purpose of what they do. Like the Department of Children and Families, we help children and families. The Agency for Healthcare Administration, okay. But the Agency for Persons with Developmental Disabilities would help me out greatly trying to explain it to other families looking for services. The Agency for Persons with Unique Abilities, I'm a unique person. I got abilities. Y'all are unique. You got abilities. And it just, to me, it's not the thing we should be focusing on. I don't want to take too much time on this, but do pay attention, because that is something I've noticed in language. I actually got a call. I'm going to spend just a few minutes. I got a call about our stories, actually an email. So somebody, I think it's Hulda, but someone in our group is sending 2 stories a day to every legislator and to APD leadership. And the director, Taylor Hatch, saw 2 of our stories that were sent and assigned them to, gosh, I forgot her name, but she's the director of the Hope Navigation, something with a Y, the Hope Navigation program. And, you know, since I had her on the line, and I do actually think that for these two people, they're not on the waiver, and one of them is a little too high functioning to even qualify, that would be a great purpose for our Hope Navigators. And there is a wraparound service. But I asked her, I said, hey, you know, I've been listening to leadership speak and call the agency a different name. Is that what they're going to do? And she said, you know, nothing's been changed yet. And the same thing on how Senator President Gardner felt. She said the First Lady in particular and the director would like, you know, people to see that people with disabilities actually have unique abilities. And that's the purpose of that. So I went ahead and told her how I felt, especially about the clarification part. For the confusion factor, let's just stick to that. And I did pass that along and made sure I emailed her afterward, let her know. I did invite her onto this call to talk to us about Hope Navigators and what they can do, because, you know, education is key. And I think that would be a great thing. And I would let everyone know if anybody from APD was ever on our line. But I think it would be good for us to know, what do the Hope Navigators do? And then the other thing, let's see, I was going on that line. The other thing that happened this week is one of our members went and spoke at the delegation, and she's an individual with autism. And I thought what she said was so brave and so wonderful to the legislators. She's in the middle. She's doesn't qualify for waiver services, but she's 32. She can't hold a job. She's trying to live on her own, and she needs support. And that's a truth. There's a gap there too. There's so many holes that the only people that can fill them, as much as providers, the reason why we're feeling the wrath of everything is because y'all aren't getting what you need to provide. And when we have stressed out providers who can't financially provide for themselves and their families, how do we expect them to have the quality of care? So it does need to be all wrapped around, but family voices are the key. So the lead delegation I thought was really, really, really awesome. I did learn that Representative Persons Malitka out of Lee County, I'd never heard of her before, but she has a loved one with developmental disabilities, and came out into the audience after Olivia spoke, gave her card, set up a meeting with her, and really empowered Olivia, who, you know, she's really who we're here for. Like, as much as, you know, I'm here for my kids, they can't speak, they can't talk, and we need to be their voices. And I'm not just speaking for Logan and Gavin when I speak to legislators. This is a group Florida issue. So the other meeting that I got to have was with Senator Passidomo. And I have been in communication with she's my local senator, but she's also our state president. She's our Senate president. I've been in communication with her for the last year or so, but this was the first time we got to sit down. When I came into the office, I thanked her aide. One of the things she told me was, when people are trying to make appointments with their legislators, just please remember how important it is to be in good with your aide. They are our gatekeepers. They are the one that makes the meetings. They get you in. So when you're trying to get appointments with legislators, her advice to us is to make sure that you really try to build that relationship with their assistants, their legislative aides. And then the other thing she said, and I did already kind of leak this, was that they know who we are. that when she went to announce to the other bodies, because her Live Healthy thing is a joint effort between the Senate and the House. When she went to go talk to the leadership, they said we already heard from them. I don't know who Travis Eaton is, but she mentioned that he had already had families coming in and talking to them. And she said that what we're doing is really smart, that the APD families, that's what she called it, the APD families have never come out like this before. And that is so wonderful. I didn't have to go explain what we're doing too much to her, although I did give a little bit more. And she's encouraging us to do that. When I came into the meeting, I knew that I had a time crunch. You know, you only get so many minutes. So I checked with her aide. I said, hey, Paul, how many minutes do I have? And he said 15 minutes. I had 5 things I needed to talk about. And right before I left to go meet with her, I just jotted them down on a folder. So the first thing I came to speak about was some issues that I experienced with my son in the crisis waiver that I've continually talked to her, but I wanted to follow up. She connected me with her healthcare policy staff, and they're working on implementing my language, hopefully into a bill, but I have not heard reports. So I wanted to hear from her on that. And then there's another concern that I have regarding our family care councils. If you don't know, every area in Florida, there's 15 of them. We have this family care council. I've asked Paula to share a little bit. So after I finish this, will you go in a little bit more detail about family care councils? I think the family care council for me is a place where I can connect with other families that are local and get some education and information and support. And I'm concerned with that we're not getting appointments, and that there's not been a lot of momentum to be able to build our council. So I talked to her about that. And then the third thing I talked to her about was education. So we have an ESC advisory here in Collier that is exemplary, and we've created a parent volunteer program we call PEER, Parent Educator Exceptional Resources, where we're parent and educator get to educate, that can be resources to other families with special needs students in our schools. And we go around to all the different schools. I want to see that as a statewide model. It's a nationwide model, but at least in our state, I want to see other school districts doing it, because it has been so successful, and it has cultivated this collaborative relationship between student, parent, district, that's what needs to happen. And that's my idea with the Family Care Council. So I led into the ESE thing. I really do think that if we're looking at how to fix services for our population in a long term, that it has to start in the schools. You can apply for the waiver at the age of 3. So let's get the schools involved in the education for the families, so that we're not at 22 going, oh my God, what do I do now? And so that's the other thing. And then I don't remember the last thing, but either way, I had 5 things. I got it all out in 15 minutes. I feel like that appointment went so well because I wasn't nervous. I didn't have anything. I was trying to fake it through. This is all through my own learned experience. And I was going to somebody asking them for help. So when I came in there, I was respectful. I told her my truth, and like, I really, really like what Berthy said. I attacked the issues, not the person. There were a whole lot of things I wanted to cover, but I felt like the acknowledgement of knowing that the families with developmental disabilities are doing the right thing from our Senate president, from our leader, will echo further. And we need to get more families engaged and comfortable sharing your story. Now, we're almost clear of time to meet with legislators in office, because like Margaret said, November 6th is the beginning of special sessions. They get a small break, but it's the holidays. And then January 9th, we roll into session. So if you have families, if you have not filled out the form, and I'll put it in the link for your story, we would love to be able to go share that in Tallahassee. Get as many stories connected to these legislators as possible. Even if you're unable or cannot come to delegation meetings or make appointments, it is really important that we just keep saying, hey, we're here, we exist, and this is what's going on in our world. Will you help us? So with that, I would like maybe the next 10 minutes for Ms. Paula James to talk a little bit about Family Care Council, and Ms. Margaret, you could just touch on what the DD Council is and is up to. That would be great.
Okay, well, thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, giving me this opportunity to share with the Family Care Council. Family Care Council, we're partnering with, we partner with APD through the legislature. And what Stephanie was talking about earlier is we're waiting on some new governor appointees. We haven't had any appointees in a while, so the councils are getting kind of aged. So we could use some new blood and families. But I tell the council in my area is everybody is welcome to join our meetings and get involved. You just would not be able to vote on the voting, but it's a great way to get information about what is happening with APD. It'll keep you up to date with the legislative stuff that's going through there. We're not encouraged to do much with legislation, so that's why I really like what y'all are doing here, because you're going out and talking to legislators, and that's always been my thing, is to be visible to the legislature. But with the Family Care Council, we're working directly with APD. So some of
like
the
at our what happens in
Yeah.
a given meeting? Like
yeah. So we
Mhm.
have representatives from APD at my meeting always, because I told them that it isn't going to happen unless somebody from APD is actually there. So if you come early, stay late, and usually there's some time to talk freely with them. I try to encourage families that come not to talk about their case, but to talk in general about everybody in the area, because that's what we're supposed to look at, is what are the problems that are going with particular projects, what projects are they working on, is there any backlogs, how is employee, that kind of thing. And we get lots and lots of stats on, where our individuals live, how many people are on the wait list, because I don't think I'm ever going to give up that word. And on, it just, trends, where what trends are going, and giving them suggestions on what is the needs. And it you make an impact, you really do. And then also the other thing that Family Care Council helps you with, I've got a lot of phone calls, and everybody in my council gets phone calls with individuals that are having trouble with APD. Well, because you've met these people, you can call them up, you can email them directly and say, hey, I'm having this family's having a problem with this. What can we do to fix it? Or can we do this? Or can you pull their file and see what you can do? So kind of have an in with APD and can get stuff done and get information from them fairly easily. And like I said, we have direct numbers to them, so we don't always have to wait for callbacks. So and then also
I put a link to the Family Care Councils for
Okay.
Florida. So if
that's what I was going to
wherever
say.
wherever your area is, there's 15 across the state, and like ours meets monthly, and we meet on like WebEx or Zoom or one of those online platforms. So it's easy for me to be able to go to. We had our ROM, our regional, the big guy in
Operations
our,
manager.
thank you.
Yeah.
Our regional operations manager come on last month and just give us some information on some updates and give us an opportunity to ask him questions. And then we also had like someone, I'm still learning all of these things, SIM, Center for Inclusive Living, SIL. Anyway,
SIL.
he one of their representatives came on and gave some information on what we do, what they do, and I learned like there's you could call them up if you don't have a proper working wheelchair if you need it, or if there's assistive technology, like you can call them up and they have like slightly used donated stuff that they can offer for families, which is huge, that I didn't even know existed. And then, you know, at the end of every meeting, the families talk about some things going on, and it's just such a cool place to have resources and connections. And then the other thing, when we're talking about DD Day, the family care councils do have funds to be able to help people get to DD Day or Family Cafe. And you know, that can be quite a barrier for us. So you get the added bonus of getting engaged and getting, you know, schooled on our life, you know, the people who are helping us with our lives. And it creates a collaborative relationship with the agency, which is a huge disconnect. Gives you an opportunity to give some input to that, whoever's coming there at your meeting, and mostly connect with families. So like, thank
Hey,
you.
Stephanie,
Yeah.
can I just add something? Paula, thank you so much for your years of commitment to this. And I know that one of the challenges has been getting the governmental appointments. And so one of the wonderful things that this We the People for the People project is doing is kind of reigniting the concept of family engagement, family voice, and family empowerment and without some of the constraints of, you know, you can't advocate, you can't legislate, you can't do those types of things. And so we really appreciate the ability to be that voice. And you know what Stephanie was talking about, the flyers and how they're beginning to have an impact. I think part of the second phase, certainly as we wrap up the period of meeting with legislators in their home districts as they get up to Tallahassee, I just envision us having hundreds, if not 1,000 or plus of these flyers of faces that we can blanket the Capitol on DD Day and blanket all of our legislators with this information. I know that this is being funneled to leadership as well, that these flyers are being done. So it supports what the Family Care Council is doing and was intended to do, which was to be an input, be a partner, not be an adversary, but be a partner. Because let's remember, APD exists because of families, because we spoke up, we pushed, and we're back doing it again. So Paula, go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tom. Yeah. Yeah. So that, you know, it's a great resource. And a lot of times Family Care Council, you know, we sit on other councils too. So we can bring in, I know I just got back from a Clarence meeting, which is the quality review for Medicaid. You know, so you get all that information too about what's going on with Medicaid. So it is a great resource to get information. And I know y'all were talking about a few years ago, Family Care Council, we did have a campaign, and we were sending postcards. And we sent postcards out and emails out to all the legislators and the people at APD. And basically they were just like brief little stories, you know, on a topic. Because at the time it was, you know, providers, strengthening providers, and the wait list, you know, getting people off the wait list. So we kind of had a campaign on that. So when y'all doing these stories with the big pages and the complete story, I thought, oh, that's really cool. Because we just had little blurbs because we wanted something that's really quick and going out there. And yeah, that year is when providers got raises. So, which they hadn't got in a while. It wasn't much, but it was a start. So, yeah. So,
and Paula, one of the things the Family Care Council historically has had was a way to link to all the families being served by APD. And is that still being able to be utilized?
Yeah, we can still get that information and lists. A lot of times we even have events where we have families. I'm getting ready to go to Jacksonville. They're having a Connecting the Dots conference up there. It's a one-day event, kind of a mini cafe where they go up for the day and they'll have speakers from the different, you know, like VR and APD on the different guardianship, attorneys on guardianship, and just all the things you need to know.
It's
that are
family
helpful.
care. That's what I
Yeah,
love
family
about
care,
it. It's
yeah.
all about family care. That name represents the council. And Paula and all of, Pauline, all of these warriors for families. You all have been doing this for a really long time. And I
Yeah.
would like to see that be able to carry on. So when what I'm talking to anybody who will listen to is there has been a serious I'm not sure why, but we haven't had any appointments. And so in order for us to grow, we've got to build. That's one of the things. But the Family Care Council, you don't have to be a voting member to go learn and get connected. And I've been on the meeting for it's been 12 months solid now. And I learn something new every single time that I go and make connections. And that's why I really want the We the People to understand, because not a lot of people even know the Family Care Council is a thing anymore. And it's just kind of the foundation of where this concept came from. Was just that families need to talk and be connected and learn. So we only have a few seconds.
I put up the flyers on the chat for the connecting the dots, area 4 up northeast. And then I put area 15, which is St. Lucie, Martin, Okeechobee, and Indian River, is the 15th of this month. So.
And
thank you so
Steph,
much.
as a clarity, the CILs are the Centers for Independent Living.
See, I learned something new. Thank you. So the last thing, I just wanted Margaret to come on, and we've got 4 minutes and then we'll be officially at an hour. Give us a little bit about who you are and what you're up to.
Well, every state has a developmental disabilities council through the Developmental Disabilities Act. We're the only one that's also a nonprofit, so we're a little more independent from our DD agency. The other ones are more connected to their governmental agency for developmental disabilities. But we get funding from the federal government, 100%, and we use it to contract out for programs like Partners in Policy Making, for example, to train parents, a real intensive training for parents and individuals to do that training once a year. And then we also support a fellows program. So we're teaching self-advocates on how to develop their own self-advocacy program, which in Florida is the Florida SAND program. Those are just some examples. We also work with transportation voucher programs, employment programs. We're doing a lot with dual diagnosis and behavioral help for families that have a loved one with an individual whose behavior problem is pretty extreme, like through a mental illness in addition to their disability. So that's just a little bit about some of the things we're doing. We have a lot of program managers who have received those contracts, and my job is to educate, take our message about what we're doing and other things for people with disabilities up at the Capitol. And so right now we're concentrating on the waiver. We're monitoring this managed care pilot. And we like to try to work with stakeholders. And we're having a consortium on December 1st from 9 to 12 in the morning where different agencies will be giving their legislative platforms to see where we can work together, or at least just know what other people are doing if we can't work with them. So.
Well, thank you so much. I'm always glad that you're here. I know that you've been doing this a really long time. In our 1 minute left, what would be your one-liner advice for families trying to make a difference?
Well,
this
lately
year?
it occurs to me that people don't really understand how the system works. I like it that Family Care Council's having connect the dots, because the dots about where the money's coming from, Medicaid up at federal government, and how it's matched out in states, how states can be creative with their own program, why there's even a waiting list. It's because if your entitlement is what they say you can have if you're really in crisis, but Florida's actually ahead of the game, and by not putting people in institutions, they're trying to at least serve those in crisis. So, but understanding people's political and government philosophies about how government's going to work, and do they want just kind of a nice program for people with unique abilities, or do we really want to embed services into all aspects of life to really include people? And I think those are discussions that people need to have with legislators and when they're at the voting booth.
Thank you so much. And thanks to everybody else for coming on to this meeting. Tom will be back next week. We tag team this, but we're gonna keep this discussion alive. Next week on November 6th is a special session. And you can tap into that on the Florida channel. Tap into it on our Facebook page, which is like facebook.com/We the People 2024. Get on our email list, call each other. I love that families are meeting at delegation meetings. Please, if you are in an area and you want other families to go to delegation meetings with you, reach out. There's enough of us now, and we do need to keep showing up, keep talking to our legislators, and connecting with each other. So until next Friday, have a good weekend.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, guys.